Welcome to Soul Adventure TV, where we explore what may very well be an unprecedented opportunity for humanity's spiritual and physical evolution, and the choices standing before each and every individual to walk on this grand adventure or not. Do we really know who and what we are and what we can choose to be? I'm your host, Steve Crow. Today we have with us psychic channeler Patricia Cori, author of multiple books including The Starseed Dialogues, Where Pharaohs Dwell, Beyond the Matrix, and her latest book, Before We Leave You, Messages from the Great Whales and the Dolphin Beings. Patricia channels the speakers of the Syrian High Council and has her own radio show on the BBS network called Beyond the Matrix. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome Patricia to Soul Adventure TV. Hi.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a great honor to be with you today.
Well, thank you. Now, I understand you've made somewhat of a geographic move. You're not where you were.
None of us are. I live in Rome. I used to live in San Francisco Bay Area, but I've been living in Rome for 28 years. And at the moment, you find me in the Azores island, where I spend a lot of time because I come here to swim. This is where the first place I ever swam with the whales and with the dolphins in the wild.
And
so I spend a lot of time here.
And for those of us that aren't quite sure where the Azores are, can you help illuminate us?
Actually, I tell people the Azores Island are the best kept secret in town. They are located about a 2-hour flight from Lisbon, Portugal, in the direction of west, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. They're about almost halfway between Canada and Portugal. And
whoa.
That is not a sound you usually hear.
No, is that like a big mosquito or what was that?
It was one of the youth of the area going to town on his motor scooter or whatever.
Ah.
But it's a really fabulous place out here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it's one of the places where you have the greatest variety of cetaceans, I think, in the world. Many of them are migrating through here on their migrational patterns around the planet.
It sounds beautiful, Patricia.
It is.
You know, the viewers will be aware that you channel extra-dimensional energies that identify themselves as the Syrian High Council. But what I'd like to understand is this term extra-dimensional. Is that the same as extraterrestrial, or is there a difference that we should be aware of?
Well, I like to explain, my understanding is that extraterrestrials I would give to as a term for any beings who are actually three-dimensional physical beings who are in any station in the galaxy. In our own solar system, I'm quite convinced there's life on other planets, and I think we're going to find that out rather soon. And I believe also that traversing these spaces is not as impossible as we've been told it is, because, of course, there are technologies that are way ahead of what we have now, or at least what we're being told we have now. But so that would be extraterrestrials, any beings in the physical dimension. And the extra dimensionals would be energies or conscious forms, light-bodied beings, or even ascended beings who are resonating at higher frequency. Sometimes they're in body or just in a light body form, or sometimes they've completely lost their body form and are light beings, balls of light.
And is that how you experience the Syrian High Council, as ascended beings?
Yes. I experience the Syrian High Council as ascended beings who are residing, or let's say holding energy at the 6th dimensional frequency. Very, very light. No body, hardly any body consciousness at all anymore. Just light beings, balls of light, let's say.
So they must have a strong connection to the spiritual, to the oneness then?
Well, everything is spiritual and everything is oneness. It's all a matter of density as far as I can interpret and understand it. So as you climb higher on your own ascension ladder or your own spiritual spiral, you become lighter and lighter until eventually you merge with the one flame, which we can call God or Prime Creator, however you perceive that to be.
You've been on this spiritual journey for quite a while, and I'm curious in many lifetimes, as I understand it. And what I'd like to ask you is what have you learned about yourself?
I think the most important thing to learn on this journey, we are all collectors of wisdom, and we all gather so many skills, and really we've learned so much in the last 30 years, crystals and healing and just wonderful tools and experiences. But all in all, I think that the most important, absolutely most important thing you can learn as a student of spirit is to be in humility, to celebrate the knowing that you know nothing. And once you get that it's just, it's not about needing to know anything anyway. It's about seeking and learning. Then maybe you're on your way. So I work as much as possible on myself to always stay in humility. And the humility brings joy and wonder and celebration of not only what occurs and comes to my life, but of everyone else. Because we use the term oneness, but it is found, I think, in that humility.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Patricia, I noticed in the title of your first book, there's a term there that really caught my attention, and it's the term starseed. And the reason it caught my attention is that that just happens to be the same name that the Orions use for ET contactee Stan Romanek, whom I'm sure you know about.
Yes.
What is the meaning of starseed?
Well, that's a great question. In its simplicity, it's a very deep question because there are so many people referring to this term now and finding that they believe that they are from another star system. They're starting to somehow remember or feel a resonance toward a certain vibratory signature, which a lot of us are finding in different star systems. There are people who resonate to the Arcturian information, Andromedan, the Pleiadian, of course, Barbara Marciniak brought through, and the Syrians. Many people are connecting to this information at a vibratory level. They believe that they have spent time in that star system. So we use this term really, I think, as a meaning, an affiliation for, or past lives, or some sort of connection to another star system completely. And I do believe that in this time of great shift on our planet, we are being facilitated to remember. Some recurring terminology in my books is now is the time to remember who you really are, Starseed.
Are we who we think we are?
Well, who do we think we are? For
Yes,
starters,
indeed.
what do you mean by that?
Well, do we understand our origins, our past, our future? Do we understand our essential nature, do you think?
I think that there's a great debate going on in the human race at the moment of who we really are. And we are obviously being somehow prepared for some sort of galactic unveiling. We know that disclosure is being discussed all the time. More and more information is coming out to us about aliens being suddenly removed from the ridiculous zone and being presented to us even on military levels. They've got plans in case of an alien invasion happens. So we know that this galactic aspect of humanity's presence on the in the greater scheme of things is something that's very present now. And that reality, I think, is part of the great shift that's underway. I think that we recognize that we most likely are not the only inhabitants of the universe. And so, who are we really? Are we an experiment? I do actually believe that the human race was created. Think about what we do in laboratories and imagine that some other species decided to create a species of beings who were, I do believe their intention was higher beings to be seated on this incredible Garden of Eden. And of course, the religious people will scream and yell at that idea, just as the evolutionists will scream and yell at that idea. But in the end, it's only ideas. The evolutionists don't have their missing link yet, so we cannot embrace that because scream and yell all you want. We don't have the missing link, so it doesn't work. It's only a hypothesis. The religious people, the idea that an entire 7 billion civilization comes from one man and one woman inbreeding doesn't exactly work either. The truth is, I really do believe that we are a very small little planet in a very huge universe, and that we very likely could be, let's say, possibly genetically engineered or designed to reside in this universe, in this planet, and to bring to be, I think, to have been designed to have been a being of incredible light and potential. And
Yeah,
I really do believe in the human race, by the way, so you will hear a lot of optimists in that explanation.
well, that's the aspect that I'm most interested in. I hear, of course, talking about the physicality in terms of creating a body that works for this particular environment. But there's also the divine nature, the spirit nature of a human being that I don't think is often recognized. In my particular philosophy, I believe we are divine beings, spiritual beings having a physical experience here in the 3D plane, but that's not who we are in essence. It's like
Exactly.
we're having a little visit here. What do you
Yeah.
think? Is that does that resonate with your experience?
Yes, I think one of the most brilliant expressions I've ever heard is we are not humans having a spiritual experience, like you said, but spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think that we are immortal beings, and that this journey that we're on right now may not be one of the easiest in our many reincarnations and experiences as beings of light, immortal beings that perpetually climb that spiral that I like to call the spiral of ascension. We talk about ascension as being something that's going to happen as a finite thing, but we're perpetually ascending the spiral of light and going in and out of lifetimes. I totally believe in reincarnation. I'm sure I think you probably do too.
Oh, absolutely. And you know that imagery of the spiral, I think it was through your books or through interviews that I've seen with you before. This imagery of the spiral, I think that's a very powerful one. Instead of it being so linear, I really because it brings in the element of the upward movement,
Indeed.
which I think is very powerful.
Yes, even more than the reincarnational wheel. We think of reincarnation going from lifetime back and around and around. And even that, I believe, is eventually a spiraling. Everything spirals anyway. Energy is spiraling all the time. It's shown to us in so many ways. But I don't believe that anything is uh, ever stuck in one rotation. I think that each reincarnation takes us a little bit higher on the spiral, higher and higher until we move out of the need to be physical beings. It's
Indeed.
so hard for us to embrace that because we
Yes.
do love being physical beings.
Don't we though? Don't we? What do you think, if anything, is special about this particular time in our history? We're recording this in, what is it, June of 2012. Uh, is there?
Boy, we're all in June 2012. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yes. Uh,
Well, clearly we are at the appointment that we seem to have in so much prophecy of the famous December 21st, 2012 being the believed end of the Mayan calendar, although even that is being questioned now. And the Mayan calendar, I keep telling people, it's not telling us that it ends and that everything is over. It is telling us that we're moving into another cycle. And the Syrians say that it's telling us that we're moving out of linear time, out of time. So, how appropriate that the calendar therefore runs out of time. And it's their sort of cosmic joke, I think, to
yes.
show us. Clock runs out because we're telling you that the next phase, there is no time. So, that is the next dimension, according to the Syrians. And what's so important about that now is that inculcated in I think in every single human being on this planet is thinking about 2012 because of so much hype about it, and that thinking about it in itself is going to bring about an amazing shift, because when we pass over that date line, we will be in a new paradigm simply because people will be letting go of their anticipation of what that's going to be. Needless to say, I just like to add, needless to say, we know that there are all these celestial movements going on and alignments, great cycles. This is a huge time. This is the shifting out of many cycles of celestial motion, and very exciting time.
Yes, and speaking of celestial motion and celestial objects, I know that your experience has taught you that our sun plays a large part in this transitional period. I was wondering if you could speak to that a bit.
Yeah, I have been watching the sun for a long time, and we now are seeing quite unusual things going on. You may have seen this strange object that was attached to the sun
Mm,
recently. There was a
yes,
picture. Did you catch that?
yes, I did.
Um, it was so gigantic, it would have been bigger than the biggest planet. In relationship to the sun, it was very large. So it would have to have been an enormous planet. And it had a little, something that resembled a tube. It looked like an umbilical cord sticking into the sun. And there's been quite a lot of hypothesis about this. Is it that some sort of craft or planetary being that is drawing energy from the sun? That would undo everything we believe about the sun. Anything that gets close to the sun will dissipate, it will be fried to succotash, as they say. What was that? And what other things are happening? We've seen images of keyholes in the sun, craft moving about. I have a feeling that the sun is not exactly what we've been told it is, and that believing that all celestial beings are conscious beings. The Syrians tell us, trust the sun, it knows exactly what to do. And the sun reaches another solar maximum at December 2012. So now we've got all these cycles completing in 2012, and the sun in a solar max at 2012. So I think that the sun is a key player in what's going on. And the thesis that comes forward in the first books of the Syrian High Council is that the sun is going to go through its own astral chords, and that process, which would make sense that if celestial beings are conscious as we are, then they would have astral chords like we do. And the Syrians say that the sun is done in the third dimension and is not going to blow up, but rather it's going to move into its next higher dimension. And the process of moving through that umbilical cord is going to take all the planets with it.
So is our human ascension tied then to the sun's own ascension? It seems like you're saying
According,
they are. It is.
yeah, according to the Syrians, well, I keep saying according to the Syrians because that's what I follow, that's what I believe and I trust. And of course, there are many other viewpoints, but my understanding is that the process of death is not that much different than the process of ascension on the individual level. That being, when we leave this body, if we're talking about death, the death process or the transitional process of death, it would seem to me that the individual makes a choice to either go on to another a period of staying in light body, or come back in immediately or with time and experience another lifetime until whatever that karmic information that needs resolution has been dealt with, and then slowly moving up on that rotational spiral. But here we have a situation where if it's true that our entire solar system is moving up and that all of the planets are going up with it, then we are talking about the evolution, the ascension of an entire civilization. Now, of course, people are all on about, will only the good people go? Will the bad
Yes,
people die?
right. Where does choice come? Where does choice? Where does personal vibration come into this if it's happening at a galactic level?
I think that the answer to that is that as it is happening at a galactic level, but if you cannot rise to the occasion vibrationally, then you will opt out for the death option so that you will be able to go back and do more karmic resolution in your path up to the return, the great return. So when people say a lot of people are going to die, a lot of people are going to die. So great, but when you understand that you don't die, that you're immortal, the the departure time and the process,
Right. And but
know
and
that that's anything to be so terribly afraid of.
exactly. And I think even in those circumstances, the death experience is a choice that we make, at least on a subconscious level. Um,
I think so. I think we may have made some predetermined ideas of when that would be.
mm,
I think the soul decides when it's coming in and when it's going out. And that even if you avert that, you've heard stories about people that don't go on the vacation because they're scared to fly on the plane
yes.
and then they get in a car accident or whatever. I just think that there's some predestiny to how that all transpires and that we can affect it to a certain point. But what really is important is where you are vibrationally and karma, because I don't think you get a freeway, a pass to the higher states of ascension just because you're sitting on this planet. I think if you still have work to do that require heavy duty karma, darkness, then you'll be leaving
Yes. I
before this process happens.
I totally agree with you there. It seems to me that free choice is balanced out by the responsibility that we each need to take for the choices that we make. It's not, I don't believe in a vengeful uh, uh, oneness, a vengeful God, that's going to send us
No.
to hell if we make the wrong decisions. But I do believe that there's such a thing as taking responsibility for the choices that we make.
Well, it's the thing that makes most sense to me. I've studied many religions. And of course, Buddhism does not declare itself to actually to be a religion. It's a path of enlightenment. But it makes most sense to me that we create our own karma and we have to clean up our own karma. And this is something I'd like to get into with you now because I have been a little bit barking of late because I'm hearing so many people saying the good ETs are coming and we don't have to worry because they're going to fix it and everything's going to be Hare Krishna. And I like to remind people that nobody is going to fix it for us. This is our karma, it's our planet, and we are involved with helping the planet rise as well. And so it's the same thing, whether it's an individual thing or a collective thing. We are responsible. Neither can we blame anyone else. We're responsible. We are the caretakers here. Let's do our best to help Gaia rise to the occasion.
Beautifully said. Uh, Why are the Syrians, or maybe I should just say more generically, the extra dimensionals and extraterrestrials, seemingly so interested in the choices that we are making here on this little blue marble of a planet? And they seem so interested in what direction we eventually take. Does this impact, does our ascension process, does it also impact them somehow too?
Well, sure. If you believe, or if you can at least conceive of the possibility that an organization of ETs or extra-dimensionals were involved in creating this Homo sapiens race, then they would have a vested interest, even a karmic interest, in how this race develops because they were involved in creating it.
Ah,
So the Syrians particularly have a real, they've talked about this a lot. It was a mistake that they made when they said they intervened here and they wouldn't repeat that. But at the time, they were looking to um, create a super species of walking light beings who could really tend to the planet because Earth is a remarkable planet. It is one of the greatest planets of biodiversity in existence as far as we know. I mean, well, even beyond what we know. But if you just look at it, you look at this magnificent planet and think, God, it is so perfect. So it is, Syrians call it an incredible piece of real estate as far as their ETs are interested in.
Location,
And
location, location.
okay, exactly. And of course, it's interesting to see if what's going to happen here in the polarity of darkness and light. How is this going to play out? And
Exactly.
there's also the other aspect, which is more pressing, perhaps, and that is that we have now become dangerous enough to affect other planets. So before it was, you want to blow yourselves up. This is kind of your baby, but now here we are out there with weapons in space. So the game has changed.
Well, as a psychic intuitive, what does your gut tell you about how's this going to turn out?
Well, I have a handicap, and that is that I'm an optimist. And I call it a handicap because sometimes I can't be as completely neutral as I might want to be. But what I believe, what I understand, and what I receive is that the council, again, they keep repeating this, never underestimate the power of the human spirit. And to know that the galaxy, the celestial beings, know what they're doing. The sun knows exactly what it's doing, and so does Gaia. And you either trust it or you don't. Meanwhile, don't be complacent and just sit back and say, okay, let's watch it all unfold. Rise to the occasion to raise your own energy, and in doing that, help raise the community energy and hence the planet and so on. As you know, everything is energy and vibration. But I think that we're going to pull this out, and I think that we are in for quite a ride
So do
very
I.
soon now.
Very, very soon.
Very
Yes,
soon.
indeed.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any thoughts on what the potentials are for our human evolution? We say evolving, but evolving into what is a question that naturally occurs.
Can you be a little bit more specific? I'm not quite sure
So,
what you're asking.
so we talk about that the Syrians, their initial plan was to create light beings to take care of this Garden of Eden. Is
Hmm.
that what, after Ascension, is that what we would return to being non-corporeal light beings, or how do you see it?
They describe the next passage as a clearing station. It's interesting too because it's not unlike purgatory, the river Styx, etc., and so many different belief systems. But they describe the fourth dimension as being a clearing station where your karma, as individuals and as a civilization, is placed before you. And they say you're going to be in for something here because your shadow is going to be in front of you, not behind you.
Hmm.
I love that idea or that image that the shadow self will be placed in front of us to deal with. So rather than having to come back around into another lifetime, we are going to be in a position to be looking at the karma right in front of us and given the opportunity to heal it then and there. Or not.
Or
Some
not?
people may
Yes.
not choose to do that. But I think from the fourth dimension, from there we will be moving into higher states of being. Again, as you said earlier, depending very much upon your own spiritual progress and your own vibratory frequency, your own perception, your own level of achievement spiritually.
Yes, and speaking of the individual vibratory level, how does that play out against the group consciousness? In other words, the entire planet has to achieve a certain higher vibrational rate as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is such a toughie, isn't it?
Yes.
I think that there will be a lot of people dying in I hate to say that way because it sounds like I'm fear mongering and I'm not. I think that the planet is going to go through more upheaval. We're in it already. We're definitely in it already, and there's a lot of suffering, a lot of loss on this planet. We're losing species. We think of only human beings, but how many species a day are we losing? Something absurd.
Right.
Something like 25 species a day or a month. I excuse me for the ambiguity, but I can't even bear to think about it. So there is a lot of death on this planet, not just the human race, but so many species are leaving. And I think that that's a process. And I trust that all things are immortal, including animals, so that it doesn't frighten me because I feel that, well, okay, I'm more than ready to go, by the way, because I have been on the other side and I know what's there. And I'm more than happy to say, oh, I love this, but the less dense experience of this, I'm ready to move on to it. And this is a wonderful gift I've been given psychically, if you will, because of having had that experience to know that. When you know that, your whole world changes because the fear of any of it disappears in the light of that knowing. So I know personally that the other side is as real as this. It's vibrant, and we're simply moving on to another level of density. And whether that is going to be like, oops, okay, it's fun out here in the light, but I've got to go back into another body to resolve something, to work on something, or to see my twin flame, or whatever. That it's just a matter of different levels of density and experience.
Well, a lot of people are just like you. They're eagerly awaiting this event, this shift, this transition, ascension, whatever you want to call it. But then they look at the calendar and they go, "Huh, I've been led to believe that December of this year is kind of the date, and here we are mid-year, and I don't see anything happening much." Do you think?
Boy,
do you? Do,
who are these people that don't see much happening?
well, they don't see they see drama. They don't see ascension. They don't.
Right,
They,
but because we have this illusion of what this ascension is going to be.
ah.
Because everything is going to be roses and light, and the archangels are going to come, and we have kind of packaged this in a sort of bubble of love and light, and ignored the reality of the fact that all of this other stuff has to go to make way for that. So it's breaking down in front of our eyes, and we see war and destruction and pollution and all of this really difficult things to deal with. But this is the old giving way to the new, and this is the process of feng shui. So it's not coming fast enough. We'd love to see harmony and bliss on this planet and peace reign. And like you're saying, it's not coming fast enough.
Yeah.
I think
When do we
we
get
gotta go.
that? We want that.
We've got to get through this first. Yeah, we want to play. I mean, let's go get on with it. We've been through the suffering. Let's get on with the bliss. But
Exactly.
again, my question is, returning to your comment about the individual, each of us has the possibility to create that bliss every day. And you can see people who are in the most dire straits who are able to find that bliss in the most simple things. I am reminded of once I was in Nepal, and this little child, rags, dirty, poor little child, reached down into the filthy sewer and pulled out a piece of glass that had been maybe eroded or whatever. It was like a green little piece of glass. And he held it up to the light, and he started laughing hysterically. And I thought, wow, now this is what you call being a master. This little poor boy.
Wow.
And here we are, we whine and moan a lot, but what is our little piece of glass? When are we going to understand that despite all of the suffering, despite all of the conflict, each of us has a clean slate every day? You wake up in the morning and you have a clean slate. What are you going to do with this day? And how are you going to create your own ascension field in that moment, like that little child? Who would have even noticed him? How many people would have noticed that? So my message to everyone is to take time and find it in every day and in the most simple things, instead of waiting for Metatron to come and sound the horn, and all of the things that we've built up in our mind are illusions that are taking us further away from ourselves. This I believe.
Wow, I was going to ask you what do you think an individual can do if they want to be supportive of the Ascension event, but I think now the answer to that question is be like that child in India.
Yeah,
Find the joy. I mean that, as you said, that's a true master.
it is a true master. If you think about it, if your life ends in that moment, right now, in this moment, how are you going out worrying about the Ascension and what about December 20th? Somebody actually wrote to me, Dear Patricia, you're a psychic. Please tell me, should I go ahead and buy a house, even knowing that December 21st is coming or not? And
Yes.
I'm like, you know, buy the house if it gives you joy. Buy the house, live in joy, find joy in every day, and know that this could be your last day. And so if it is, make it rich. And let's stop projecting into this very important future. I'm not suggesting that, I'm not dismissing how evolutionary this moment is, but truly the master is the one who understands that that little piece of glass is everything. It's what matters, the beauty in that. And if we can get to that, then we raise the consciousness automatically, being able to share those moments with each other. And
Beautiful.
from those moments, we have hours and hours of days. But I like to remind people this: you have a clean slate every day when you wake up. What are you going to create that day?
Mm.
And I think it's important to remember that.
Choice, choice, choice.
Intention, intention, intention.
Ah, I like that. So, Patricia, I understand that you have many exciting things going on, but one of them that I'm aware of is you have a set of tarot cards, and then you're also doing some teaching, some online classes. Tell us about that.
Okay, I thought I am a devotee of the tarot for many, many, many years. I learned so much from it. It's really a remarkable esoteric tool, and it is incredibly helpful in helping open the third eye or activate the pineal gland. And so I've always taught it. I've taught the tarot for 20 years. I didn't recently, but I've always really loved what it can do to help people achieve that activation that so many people want now. They want to really be able to get more clairvoyance and more into those higher skills. So I got a little guidance on that and created a new deck, which is called the Syrian Starseed. There's your word, Starseed Tarot. And the images are much different. Well, they honor the time worn tradition of tarot, but they, for example, instead of the Fool card, the card is Starseed, and some of the terminology that we love, and the impact of this deck is for people to be able to really understand the process of being an immortal being, coming into this tunnel of density, and all the process of that journey and then returning. The last card is called Ascension. So I've done this together with an artist named Elisa Barta, and it's coming out in September 25th. It'll be available for sale. And I have been invited to teach this tarot on Exo University's new online university, which is fabulous. It's an alternative university that is very inexpensive for people so that you can get an education into some of the more significant things in the alternative fields, such as teleportation and time travel and the esoteric wisdom. So that's going to be available soon. In fact, I think it will be available, the courses will start in October. So I'm
Wow.
working on that. And I'm looking forward to that because I really, really love teaching it. And it's going to be it's going to be great to come back to teaching it again.
I know that you also do quite a few tours. Are you doing any of that coming up here?
Yes, I have every year I take people to the crop circles and combine that with the sacred sites of England. So we go to Glastonbury, the Glastonbury tour, the ley lines. That's the tour is where the ley lines connect and traverse each other, and Stonehenge, private access, things like that. That's in July.
Mm.
And I'm also taking people to Peru in October. And the July trip is just about sold out, and I still have places for Peru.
Well,
The Peru journey is called the Path of Mastery with the master shaman teacher, Malku. So it's quite a very important experience.
if people want to learn more about the trips, the tarot cards, the online classes, where should they go?
Well, my website is SyrianRevelations.net or patriciacori.com, which I don't think is up to date. I got to work on that. But SyrianRevelations.net is my main site. And or they can just Google me. I'm pretty much all over the Google search engine.
Well, Patricia, this has been a fascinating time spent together. I really appreciate you joining us, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm honored.